This reminds me of a quote that you said that said that there's no truth in relationships. What do you mean by that?
That was what I was talking about with the subjective
Hmm.
realities. Yeah, so this idea that I have my experience over here, you have your experience over there, and the more that I'm fighting for you to see my experience as truth, the more I lose because you have such a different lens. We're both coming into the relationship with two different sets of wounding, with different histories, with different patterns. And so we're going to see the same situation very differently. Now, I don't mean when there are actual lies. I'm not saying like someone lies and now you're saying, well, there's no truth. I mean, when there are two subjective experiences that are with people who are doing their best and they're, no one's lying or manipulating or coercing, then, then you're going to come to the table and say, I mean, I'm trying to think of an example of me and my wife recently because I think this is actually um where a lot of people get tripped up. And you did an interview, I think, with was it Jerry Wise, who was talking about
Yes. Yep.
discernment.
Mhm.
And this is where what I'm talking about with the skill that we need in order to maintain healthy long-term relationships. Discernment is such excuse me, differentiation and discernment, but differentiation is such a big piece of it, right? Which is if I can tolerate your truth, even though it's a painful truth to hear, which might be like I'm pregnant and my wife wanted to go on this ski trip to Japan while I was pregnant, and she's been traveling a lot for work. So I really didn't want her to go on the ski trip to Japan. I wanted her to stay with me because she's been gone. Now, for her, skiing is like where she feels her lifeblood. Like this is so important to her going on a trip. I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about I want to be taken care of. Like I want to be the priority right now. I feel like you've been gone because you've been working so much. Like it felt totally valid on my end to be like, hey, ski trip to Japan, it's got to be 10 days, 2 weeks. Like that's a long time to miss in my pregnancy. But for her, she's like, but after the kid, I'm not going to be able to do this for a really long time. This is a dream vacation that I've wanted to go on for a really long time. Who's right? You could probably argue if you're one person, if you're someone who's pregnant, you could probably argue that I'm right. If you're somebody who values freedom more, or like you could probably argue that my wife is right. But if we're trying to, if somebody has to be right and someone's reality has to be quote unquote true, again, you're fighting a losing battle. What we actually need to do is what differentiation teaches us how can we tolerate friction and tension that even in the midst of her saying, hey, I really want to go, all what comes up for me, I have all of my attachment stuff. I'm like, okay, does that mean I'm being abandoned? Does she care more about her friends than she cares about me? I mean, I have all of this stuff that goes on. But my move is how do I learn to regulate? How do I learn to breathe through the tension and the friction that I feel right now that's telling me, oh my God, she doesn't love me. She might abandon me, blah, blah, blah. Like this is, am I being rejected? Whatever stories I might create so that I can stay with her experience. If I can't do that, then what I'm going to try and do is convince her, or maybe I withdraw, right? Maybe I punish. Like we all have different kind of ineffective behaviors that we use when someone else's truth comes up against our truth, quote unquote. And we'll do that we do it for closeness or we do it for safety of distance. So for somebody who's a little more avoidant or who prioritizes autonomy, that person in this situation might say, okay, we can't agree. I need to step out and I need to like go be by myself for however long. Another person who values safe connection as safety might say, okay, we disagree. Can we go out to dinner? Can you hold me? But if I am saying, if your desire over here, if your desire to go on this trip, now I have all this meaning that I make about it over here on my end. I'm making it mean that you don't love me. I'm making it mean that I'm being abandoned or left. I'm making it mean that you're not prioritizing this pregnancy. All of those are my stories that I need to own. But if I think that those stories are about her, Now, all of a sudden, I'm blaming, I'm shaming, I'm making her wrong. And now what is she going to do? She's going to probably bring her ineffective patterns of keeping herself safe into the space too. She's like, wait a second, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I just wanted to go on this trip. Why am I being punished? Why are you telling me I'm doing? So you can start to see where our lack of skill in relationship, when tension starts to hit, it's not that we need to create less tension in our relationships. How do we, quote unquote, make relationships easier? No, it's how do we actually deal with the tension that exists in our bodies and own that that's happening to me. My experience over here, she may have shared something that created the experience, but whatever the experience is that I'm having is mine to own. And by the way, when I actually own my experience instead of making it about her, so when I can say, when I can touch into the part of me that's like, okay, I can feel how when you want to go on this trip, I can feel it brings up in me this part that feels like I'm going to be left. All of a sudden now it's not about her, and her ability to stay with me in that is going to be much easier. So if I can own my side of the street, it's going to be so much easier for her to then stay with me and for me to get the connection and intimacy that I actually want. The second someone feels blamed, we'll go into defensiveness. Of course, we're like trying to defend our honor here. Like we didn't do it. That was not our intention. That's not how we were thinking about it at all. But if we have been taught that tension is bad, that conflict equals bad and wrong, like if we fight, then that must be bad, then we're now starting to make meaning of our relational dynamics about like, well, what's wrong with us? Why are we fighting this other couple that I just saw on Instagram that has 6 kids and they look really pretty and the wife is all done up and blah, blah, blah. How'd they do that? I don't know. I'm, can't even get out of bed, let alone do my makeup because my kids are, just poop themselves, like whatever it is. All of a sudden, then we're thinking, oh, this isn't normal. This isn't what relationships are. I thought relationships were the spa, but no, relationships are the gym. We just need to understand what the type of training it takes to be in the gym.